Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Retro Game Show here on Boss Rush Games. I'm Corey Derrigan, of course. I'm joined by that retro code, Eddie V.
Hello everybody.
And we're continuing our trek through Super Metroid, the seminal Super Nintendo game. We're kind of making our way through. Why don't you remind everybody where we're at since we left off?
Okay, so we are in hold on 1 second. Meridia, and we're getting close to the boss that we're about to fight. And obtain some new powers. Once we beat this boss, we are on our way to Ridley, and then to the end of the game.
So, do you think we beat it within the next 2 episodes?
Yes, we will.
Sweet. I've actually been playing some Axiom Verge, Ed, which you know is an awesome, recent, classic Metroid style game, and it is a whole lot of fun. Let me tell you, I like moving around in that game. So, what?
Oh, go ahead.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna ask you how you've been the last couple days, because we recorded an episode of Pow Block yesterday, obviously. But how are you feeling? You feeling all right? Feeling good?
I'm feeling good. I had some Domino's pizza. Did Italian sausage and pepperoni. This time, did my meats and no veggies and everything. Really enjoyed it. Still got a set that I need to finish. But I'm doing pretty good. Holding up. Bought some games today.
What'd you buy?
Danganronpa 1 and 2. These are kind of like Phoenix Wright games in the sense for PlayStation 4. They've been really big games, and there's a big in Japan sale that's going on. So I figured, hey, I'll be able to, get some games and stuff. And okay, so everybody do watch this. So
I feel like you're dying. But you're not. What's happening? This is a really cool effect that's happening.
Let's see.
Ooh, you electrocuted this thing. He's draining your energy. Ooh,
But that's the
dead.
quickest way that you kill him. Yes.
Well, that was fast.
Yes. And they never tell you that. You literally you can fight them with using missiles and everything, but they really don't tell you that
That's
on
cool.
how to beat it. So that's a little trick for you guys.
It kind of reminds me of the like in Zelda when you have to bomb bushes and nobody ever tells you that. The game never tells you that ever, and you just it was that playground mentality of oh, did you bomb this bush? And then you just see you just remember people walking around the entire world with bombs, bombing every single bush. And
Yeah.
and for kids who don't know, we used to go around in games like that with graph paper to make our own maps and stuff, because they weren't, if you didn't have the instruction booklet or a guide or something, because there was no internet back then. So if you didn't buy a strategy guide or anything, whoops, I forgot to clap when you beat the boss. If you didn't have that, then you had to make your own maps. And as someone who bought a lot of NES games used back then, it was okay. I remember very specifically making the Turtles 1 map and saying which buildings had what things in it and what bosses were in the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
Because that opening area before you get to the treacherous bomb maze, the underwater bomb maze, which is, dude, that's just sadness in a bottle. If you want to be frustrated beyond belief, go play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on NES and get to that the bomb maze, man. That is just bad. But I remember drawing the maze. Like, I remember literally drawing the maze.
Oh, wow. Did you ever, wow, because it's funny that you brought up Turtles. And the only reason why, would you ever, I think it's Rocksteady, and if you still had Donatello, you was at the top of the boxes, and he would run and jump, and you would hit
hit down, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Donatello is like my go-to turtle in every single Turtles game, because the bow staff is the longest weapon, so you can keep your distance for a long time. And like, I actually think in Turtles in Time, Leonardo's the most effective, but
because he's the average one. He has
because they actually have stats and stuff. I mean, they don't ever show you the stats, but they actually do. Like, I think Raphael is the slowest, but he's the strongest.
No, Michelangelo the slowest, but he's the strongest.
Oh, really?
Raphael is the weakest, but he's quick.
Oh, see, I thought it was the other way around. But I think Leonardo is actually the most effective in that game, and Donatello is kind of like, the ranged character, if you want to call it that. So.
Well, I think Donatello is the easiest one to control for people who have a hard time, kind of playing beat 'em ups with stats in them.
Yeah.
And like when you haven't figured out like which character fits you and stuff. And that was a lot of Konami games for their beat 'em ups and everything. You would pick Donatello. Surprisingly though, I played Turtles in Time on Super NES so much that it didn't matter who I picked. I played the game. I think I played the game with Raphael so many times. It's ridiculous.
Dude, I've played through Turtles in Time so many times with every character. Because, like, my friend and I would literally, like, we would play through it 4 times in a row just to play as each of the Turtles. Like, it was just
I literally had to set it on extreme, like on the hardest difficulty.
Oh, yeah. Dude, we would play on the hardest difficulty with like the least amount of lives and like try to beat it that way. And like we would have like one continue just to make sure we got to Shredder, but we would do it like regularly. That's a lot of the time I would die at Shredder though. But I mean, I used to because we would win, like, but like I would like die like right at the end. Dude, remember? I don't remember in I don't know if you played Hyperstone Heist, which is basically
I did. I beat it.
For people who don't know, that's basically the Genesis's version of Turtles in Time, and I actually think like between the two games, like that is a severely underrated game, and I actually think it's the second best.
Yeah.
I think it's the second best Turtles game behind Turtles in Time by far.
See, it's weird because I think to me it's tournament fight. It's very weird. It's Tournament Fighters for Super Nintendo. Turtles in Time first. Tournament Fighters second for Super Nintendo. Hyperstone Heist 3. The arcade game for NES. Tournament Fighters for Genesis. And then Ninja Turtles for NES. No, I'll probably put Manhattan because I haven't played the Manhattan one.
Dude, I think Turtles 3 for NES is the one that I've played the least.
I never got to play it.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I think I've played it maybe like I have it, but I just was so into 2, and then when I got my Genesis, it was all over because of a Hyperstone Heist. Hyperstone Heist is like. I think Hyperstone Heist is amazing, but
it's such a dude that what it was I think it was a new level. Was it like a Chinese level somehow? Like an Asian level or something?
Well, it basically like each level was 3 stages. And I think there was 8 or 9 stages, and like, yeah, they took levels from Turtles in Time, but there was also new levels, like some of the levels were based on the movies, and some of the levels were based on Turtles in Time, and some of the levels were based on the NES games. Like, it was like an amalgamation of everything. It was
okay.
I really loved Turtles Hyperzone Heist. It was.
I do too.
I think if I ever get the Genesis Mini, I'm gonna add that game to it. That and Rocket Knight Adventures.
Oh, Rocket Knight. I have a love and hate relationship, because Rocket Knight, I love the soundtrack, I love the gameplay, but I don't know why I couldn't get through that whole game on normal.
Yeah, I know.
It was super difficult, dude.
Yeah, it was really difficult. I think I've only beaten it once, and I think I beat it on a fluke. But yeah, it was definitely really hard. I'm glad we're talking about Sega Genesis. We never really get to talk about Genesis stuff. Like, I think it would be cool to just have I don't know. Like, I know we did a standard definition on Dreamcast, but I would like to talk about like specific Sega games, between Dreamcast and Genesis, which are the only 2 consoles worth talking about.
Well, I
guess
I know.
I guess Game Gear too would be okay.
Game Gear was my neighbor's handheld system.
And are you struggling to get up there?
Yes, I am.
Do we need to stop talking so you can jump correctly?
No. Because I love the Sega talk. Keep going.
But I think the Genesis had a lot of great games on it. I was really into like the Disney games on there too. I thought the Disney games were very. I think the Disney games were really fun.
Now, I had a question about the Disney games.
Okay.
What was it that made it better than, let's say,
well, to be fair, I think the best Disney game is the Mickey's Magical Quest on Super Nintendo, where you change the costumes to get through the different levels.
Yes.
Like, it was basically like Mickey Mouse Mega Man, basically. It was awesome. But like Castle of Illusion was pretty good. I think there was like a Fantasia game on there, and I really liked Aladdin on Genesis. I think Aladdin was better than the Aladdin on Super Nintendo.
See, and that's where I disagree, and it may be because I didn't play Aladdin on the.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing with me. Like, I played the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin like twice, maybe. So.
And see, I 100% Aladdin on Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's just one of those things where it's more of like what you play the most of. I think that's why later on I just didn't have any affinity for any PlayStation games, because I never had a PlayStation. I had an N64 and a Dreamcast, and a Saturn, but we don't talk about that. I still have my Saturn. It's downstairs.
My brother never, because like I said, my brother was a Sega kid, and so
I think
go ahead.
I think I'm gonna get some composite cables for my Saturn. You're dying. You're dying. And I'm gonna try to set it up to at least record stuff. So we're not streaming this, by the way, everybody who's watching this on YouTube. We're just I need to fix some of the stuff for our streams for the podcast in the coming weeks. So and plus I'm setting up a specific setting for us to stream games, so it'll be nicer and cleaner and everything. So yeah, I think what were we talking about? Oh, Sega Saturn. I think the Saturn has really interesting games, and so does the Sega CD for that matter. It's just
I think Sega Saturn was like probably one of the best import machines.
The thing is, like the Saturn. I think what hurt the Saturn the most was that they didn't have a run up to release. They basically announced it and put it out like a week later or something. And like they didn't make any headway with retailers and stuff. And this was before the internet. This was before you could just go on Amazon and pre-order something. Like I think if a console was surprise dropped like in today's world, I think people would be ecstatic. Like they're like, here's the console, we're gonna take pre-orders on Amazon and Best Buy, and it'll be out in a month or whatever. I think people would be ecstatic, but just in the 90s, like that just wasn't happening.
Right. It was about who can we shock and how can we surprise, because they released it at E3 and didn't nobody know.
Yeah.
And that was a really big thing that hurt it Sega. They lost a lot of money on that.
Yeah, which is I think it's partially why the Dreamcast failed too, is because it was like a mid-step between the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, right? Like it had better graphics than the PlayStation and the N64, but it wasn't quite what the PS2 could do. Plus the PS2, like I think the PlayStation was so popular that people wanted the PS2, plus they wanted the DVD player, and I think that just is kind of what killed the Dreamcast ultimately.
What was sad was that the PlayStation had a terrible launch lineup.
What, the PlayStation 2?
Yeah, PlayStation 2. They had a terrible launch lineup.
What are you talking about? The Bouncer is the best game I ever purchased.
I ain't even going to stop talking.
Dude, we need to play the Bouncer, I think. Like the next time we're together and we just record games the whole time. Like we need to play the Bouncer. It is an awesomely bad Square Enix launch title for the PS2.
I have heard stories about that game.
You've never played the Bouncer?
I've never played it. I didn't own the PS2 when it first came out, so I got my PS2.
Right.
When the Slim came out.
Let me set it up for you. Okay. Imagine if Square Enix made a Double Dragon game, Kingdom Heartsified it, and set the end mission in space.
Wait, what did you just say? Wait,
you heard me.
Wait. What kind of Japanese fantasy is this that I'm hearing?
It's basically rated R Kingdom Hearts with no Disney characters. Set instead of an RPG, it's a hallway brawler, pretty much. And with like stat bonuses and stuff, like and the whole thing was you keep playing through the game and you keep adding to the story depending on which characters you play as, and like every time you play the game again with a new game plus, basically, you add to the end of the game, like chapters to the end of the game, and then the final boss adds stages every time you play through it, to the point where like I think you have to play through the game 7 or 8 times to get the real ending.
The heck?
It's only like a 2 hour. The game's only like 2 hours long. But the point is to keep replaying it and playing each level as a different character, and you get different story beats depending on what character you play as. And like it's so stupid. It's like obnoxiously, hilariously how bad the writing is in that game.
That sounds super terrible. Wow. I remember that game.
It involves humanoid robots as well. And the 3 main characters are just bouncers at a bar. And you have to go save your girlfriend who was kidnapped.
And how the heck that put you in space?
I'm just saying, that's where it ends up, dude.
Wow. I have no words right now.
I just want a live reaction of the Bouncer. Like, we're gonna play it. We're gonna play that, and we're gonna play Blue Stinger on Dreamcast.
Oh, I cannot wait for that game.
And we might play Overblood on the PlayStation.
Oh no, Overblood is not the Konami game.
No, Overblood was a really cheaply made EA Resident Evil ripoff.
Wait.
With barely any dude. If you want to watch it, Game Informer, it's what made their show Replay. It's the game that made that show famous. Like, that's why the Game Informer's group, like their fan group on Facebook, is called I Watched the Entire Overblood Super Replay.
Wow.
Dude, that game is so hilariously bad. It's so funny. And then they made a sequel that only came out in Europe, which, instead of a Resident Evil game, it's basically if EA made their version of Final Fantasy VII. And there's literally a game-breaking bug in it that when you're in like the 7th or 8th chapter, if you don't do a certain thing, and you save the game, your save will become corrupted.
Which means you gotta go through all that garbage again.
Yeah, dude, it's hilariously bad. Please watch the super replays of Overblood and Overblood 2 on Game Informer. It's so good.
Oh. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did I miss all of this? Like I said, the monster I knew. But I didn't know about that game. Every time I hear it, I always think of the Konami game, Overkill, which was like which was like a diagonal 3D dimension kind of like shooter. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
The stuff that you just don't know about is just hilariously awful.
Like that sounds like, wow.
It's funny. It's funny.
Way past. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that Overblood game, the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel was developed in Japan and only released in Europe.
Oh wow! Hold on. Japan didn't get the release too?
No. It was developed in Japan and it was only released in Europe. It was supposed to be released in Japan, but the game was received so poorly and that game-breaking bug could not be fixed that they just never released it in other territories. And it's got hilariously bad British acting in it.
Oh my!
Which is funny because the whole first game is all American accented voice acting. And then you get to the Overblood 2, which stars a whole cast of new characters.
Yes.
But the characters from the first game are in it. And it's just all really bad, like British voice acting. It's so funny.
Wow.
Also a game that I think takes place in space.
Was it Lifeline, that one Konami game that you had to use the microphone to talk?
On PS2, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would like never understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
Unless you were in like a soundproofed room talking directly into the microphone. Good times.
Very good times.
Man, there are so many bad games out there, man. I don't understand how anybody plays them. But yeah, I do want to play some of these kind of bad games for the Retro Game Show. Like, even if they're just like one-off episodes or 1 or 2 episodes, you know?
Because it's just like... Because you kind of figure out, like, what in the heck how did this game... It's one of those, like, how did this game get made kind of things.
Yeah.
It's just like, what were they thinking when they made this?
I don't know. I think Blue Stinger is legitimately a good Dreamcast game. Like, I mean, it's bad, but it's like if you look at it through the lens of the time, I think it's legitimately like a pretty decent survival horror game after you get past the phoned-in voice acting and stuff. I think Dogs is a really cool character.
When you told me about that, I'm like, I remember this game. And then when I heard more about it, I was just like, wait, what?
It's funny because the whole game takes place at Christmas time too, and there's only like 3 songs in the soundtrack, and 2 of them are Christmas songs.
Wow.
And then one is a very intense like battle theme that plays like all the time, even when you're not in battle. So, I'm telling you, dude, it's such a good time.
It's weird because Alone in the Dark, a lot of people know the original Alone in the Dark. I think it came out for PC and I think it was on PS1. That was meant to be the like real survival horror, but didn't nobody was able to like categorize it. And then when Resident Evil came out, that's when you started seeing all the survival horror games.
Yeah. Not to cut you off real quick, but is this the part?
Man.
Is this the part that's like the original Metroid part?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I remember. I recognize that whole sequence very clearly.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, continue. Sorry.
No. So it's kind of Wow. Yeah. Resident Evil became like the like the staple for horror games. In the sense for survival horror, and sadly, out of all of them, the only one that survived out of a lot of survival horror games has been Resident Evil. Because
there's that rumor that they might remake Dino Crisis at some point.
But why did people really like Dino Crisis?
I mean, at the time, I'm sure they did. You know, I think people. I think Dino Crisis would do a lot better now in a modern set. Like if you take that third-person over-the-shoulder action game, and like you're fighting dinosaurs that look like you're running around Jurassic Park. I think people would appreciate that.
Okay.
You know, I think people would like Dino Crisis more now than they did back then.
Yeah. I don't know. I just guess Dino Crisis wasn't something for me, because it's just like the tank controls with instead of zombies.
Are tank controls for anybody really though? Let's be honest here. Nobody likes tank controls.
Because of modern games, yes. Don't nobody really like tank controls. But there was like kind of a reason for them in those days. So.
Ooh. I don't know. I think survival horror has come a long way, especially, you know, there's a lot of copycat Resident Evil games that weren't very good. But I think a game that's probably primed to come back at this point, besides Silent Hill, would be like Alone in the Dark. I think you mentioned it earlier.
Yes. Well, Alone in the Dark has tried to come back 3 times.
Yeah, I know, but I think people, like, if they got a developer that knew what they were doing and really took the time instead of like trying to cash in on a franchise that, you know, they has like 1 or 2 good games in it, you know.
Yeah,
I think if they just made it really scary and like took that, not only the Resident Evil element in it, but like really made like a psychological type game similar to something like Eternal Darkness.
Yes.
And mixed it with the horror elements of Resident Evil, and you don't know what you're hallucinating and what you're actually fighting, I think would be really interesting.
Well, can I ask you a question? Who do you think, if if the story was true that Sony was trying to get Silent Hill or reboot it, uh, who would do it? Like,
Like in terms of Sony's first party.
yeah,
Well, I don't think they would put like Naughty Dog or Santa Monica or Gorilla on it. I think it would be someone like Sony Bend, or maybe they outsource it to like Ready at Dawn or something, something like that. I think you get someone who knows how to like make a good looking game, and like it doesn't have to be very long. I think Ready at Dawn would actually be the perfect developer for it, to be honest with you.
well, then that means like, do Ready at Dawn? I wonder, did Ready at Dawn ever learn their lesson with the Order 1886?
Yeah, they've put out like 2 or 3 projects since then.
Yeah, but I mean, making a game for Sony again.
Oh well, I mean, then don't they still own the rights to that franchise? Because the rumor was that they are developing a sequel that's going to be for multiple platforms.
Not that I know of. I thought that was a Sony exclusive. Like, that only belongs to Sony.
According to this, they own the rights to Order 1886. Sony just owns the publishing rights to the first game.
Oh, so okay.
So the second game could theoretically come to Xbox and PC. That would be a great game to come to PC. You know how there's rumors that Sony's putting some of their games on PC. Horizon's already been confirmed. Like, I think The Order would actually be a pretty great game to explore on PC.
Yeah.
I really like that game, even though it's not a $60 product in my eyes. I think the people who bought it when it was like $8 and $12 on PSN sale got a great deal. I wish they would have took the extra step and just totally ripped off Gears of War, right? Like, we had that Pod and Play episode about it a long time ago, and I think if they would, like, because we were playing it, and like the game feels good when you're actually getting into cover, doing shooting, like shooting guys, and like the exploration aspects are cool, but there's just too much quick time stuff in it, and not enough actually, playing the game, and even like fighting the monsters would have been really cool to, like, I mean, you look at something like Gears of War, and it doesn't have very many boss fights, but the ones that it does have, like the crawler in the first game, when you're underground, right? Like, you have to shoot it with explosives to get the legs open, and then you shoot it when its legs open to do damage to it, right? Like, little mini boss puzzles would have been cool.
Yes.
So, I don't know. I think it just fell victim to being one of those really pretty launch style games. Like, I think it's the same thing that I know people don't really talk about it a lot either, but Rise: Son of Rome for Xbox, like, it was a really pretty game. It just was super repetitive and didn't have enough gameplay elements to it. I think it just suffered from being that launch game that everybody was looking forward to, and held too high of a standard for a launch game, because you don't get launch games like Mario 64 anymore, or Twilight Princess, or I mean, I guess Twilight Princess is a bad example because it's technically an end of an era GameCube game, but
Well, with Mario, well, before I even get to Mario, with the Order 1886, I think the problem with that game was that it delivered a false promise, where you thought you was going to be fighting a lot of werewolves throughout the whole game, and you don't really get that. You get, like, for some people, it was a basic cover-based shooting game with barely no replay value, unless you were trying to get the achievements. And so, when people thought
even then, you could, if you planned it out right, you could get the achievements or all the trophies in one go.
Yes. You just had to look up what they were and what to do.
Yeah.
And everything. because
I really like that game though. Like I love the story and I love the characters. I think it's so interesting. Alternate history mixed with like
mhm,
mystical, uh, supernatural stuff. Like why are the Knights of the Round Table like still alive?
yes,
And like it's an interesting take on technology where Nikola Tesla, his technology took over instead of Thomas Edison's, right? Like I just think it's so fascinating.
yeah.
Sorry,
It,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, 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 no. That's fine. Um, it was. It had. I think it. Yes, it did have an interesting premise to it. But I think when they did the trailers, and this may be on Sony, when they did the trailers, they didn't do it no justice because you had the idea of fighting werewolves throughout the whole game, or uh some kind of monster, uh you know monster kind of crew, or clan or something. And every time they didn't show you the gameplay of the game until it actually came out. Gameplay as in what you would actually be doing throughout a level and stuff.
Yeah,
So you only were able to get what they can, sadly, like what they could, what they could deliver on. And it should have been like, uh, sorry, it should have been more where you were able to do something in that game than just cover base, um, and be able to have where, you got this team, there should be another person fighting with you. You should have been able to. You should have been able to have, when you got certain weapons, not just use it for that particular fight, and then you were done with them. Like it kind of just felt like half baked at times. And don't get me wrong, because trust me, I played the order way before it. I mean, way after it came out, and I bought it. I think no, I got it for free for GameStop during their Black Friday sale. And I was just like, I'm going to give this game a try and see what it has to offer. And I wasn't mad about it or anything, not because of the price that I got it for, but I was I was expecting, I was expecting a little bit more from it. Where I'm just like, what is the story of this game? Because it's different from what the trailer was for me. And then when you like get the story, you find out about it. It's just like, okay, um, like I guess I if you only had maybe two more levels to that game, or even three more levels to that game, and a little bit fully fleshed out, I think that game would have been like a hit with it. And yet it felt like we got, like, we ran out of money, or we ran out of time, what we want to do, so let's just put the game out and then we'll end up continuing it later on, like in another game.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, and the game ends on a cliffhanger too, so.
Yeah, because I would love to see, is it Galahad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see how he looks over the few years.
Yeah, I want to see what happens, because like, I mean, it's. I want to see what happens when he, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's something very specific that happens at the end where he's kind of on the run, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta. It's. I want to see what happens, I want to see how he survives that, and if like, yeah. I just want to see what happens. I don't want to spoil anything. I think people should play that game when it's on sale, or if you get it through PS Plus or something. Like, it's definitely worth what, 7 hours to play through, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I did hate that last fight though. I had to keep.
Oh yeah, but I mean, all the fights were dumb. Like all the big fights were dumb.
You know it. It was dumb, but it was just like, okay, you guys are putting this like fight in just to make up for a boss, because that was the thing that would happen with BioShock Infinite. When you got to the actual last fight, that one just felt super unfair.
See, I didn't even bother with BioShock Infinite because I know, blasphemy, but I didn't really care for BioShock 1, so I'm like, why would I waste my time with 2 and Infinite, you know?
Go ahead.
I was saying, although I might revisit them when they go on sale on the Switch or something, because like I do think it's important if we're gonna, you know, since we're gonna keep podcasting and stuff, for me to like get a backlog in some of these bigger games. Like a game I really want to revisit too is Final Fantasy VII, and I want to play the original version before I play the remake, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's a game I've never finished, you know, and I think it's important to the history of gaming that I play that or in some of these other missing games. So, and I know the Switch version has like the easy mode on it where you can kind of like speed up time and kind of just play through the story and not really battle anything, you know, just experience the story, and that's probably what I'll end up doing. But you know, there's a lot of games like that. Metal Gear Solid is another franchise that I never played really any of them. Although when I played 5, like the Ground Zeroes of 5, and I like as a huge Gears of War fan, I just thought the third person shooting in the game was just like really bad. And I wanted to like that game because I thought it looked cool, you know, and I just thought, oh man, this camera zoomed in too close. Like the shooting feels kind of bad, and I don't know. Maybe it's just Ground Zeroes.
I have the collection of 5.
Yeah.
When it's the demo and the game, I got it for Xbox One. I haven't started it yet, but to be honest with you, only beat Metal Gear Solid. I've never beaten 2, 3, 4, and of course I haven't played 5.
Yeah.
Like even Revenges, I haven't got a chance to finish yet. The platinum one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you like, I actually talked to somebody about that, playing Final Fantasy VII. Like, if you play in the original one, and we had that question on Power Block, where I felt like, not Power Block, for Boss Rush, where I feel like play the original one before you go into remake, because you won't understand. I mean, it's more than just pretty graphics, you know, with this game. And if you think you're going to get the full story, get the original full story, not the remake full story.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people love it, but I'm like, you gotta play. I feel like you had to play the original to get the story.
It seems like a lot of people who are reviewing the game are, if they were fans of the original, it seems to be scoring higher for people who played the original before they played this one, before they played the remake. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think the remake looks interesting. Like, I think it has the combat from 15. Well, an involved version of that combat, and I loved 15. And like, I know Final Fantasy VII is important, you know, and I want to like those characters. I just think Cloud is boring, you know. Like, I mean, I think Tifa's interesting. I think Barrett's interesting. I think what's his face? Vincent is like an emo kid's dream, you know. So I don't know. I know it's important, and I know I should play it, and I want to play it. I think I'm gonna play the original on Switch first, though, and then play the remake probably when it comes to Xbox next year, if and when.
Yeah, because I have 7 on PS4, which is the same as Switch and Xbox.
Yeah.
And I beat in the game when it originally came out, and like it's just such a great game. Um, the story might be cuckoo, but I think if you're into RPG games, I think this one is the one to like really understand how a modern JRPG was done
Yeah.
compared to the 16-bit ones. Because man, like back to the Sega stuff, like I feel bad that I didn't play Fantasy Star. I feel bad I didn't play Shining Light. Uh, um, not Shining Light.
Shining Force.
Shining Force. I think that was their if you think about it, it was like their kind of like their Advance Wars in a sense. And I feel bad not giving that game a try when I should have. But you can't do nothing if you're playing on someone else's system and they are not into those type of games. So that was the thing with me. Unfortunately, that the Sega stuff, like I said, was my brother's, and I never got a chance to really like kind of play those kind of games and stuff. 'Cause I would have loved to play some RPGs on the Genesis. Like the only one that I really got to play was Beyond Oasis.
Yeah,
Like,
which is another game that I really want to play too.
Mhm.
So.
I'm like, but yeah, I think the order and some of I think the order I agree with you, is a game that people need to experience. I know it got a lot of hate when it came out, but I think if people go back and try it, I think the tune will be different in a sense.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And I kind of
You just fell down.
I know I gotta do one. Doing that takes some used to get into. I think that's one thing they need to fix in this. They should have fixed in this game. That's just me. Yeah.
All right, where are we heading, Ed? Because we're approaching the 50-minute mark on this episode, which is a little longer than we've been going the last few.
We are trying to. We're trying to get the Ridley.
Okay. Do you want to save Ridley for the next episode, or do you want to keep going?
We can save Ridley for the next episode.
All right, stop moving. Stop moving. All right, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching the Retro Game Show here on Boss Rush Games. You can find a new episode Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on BossRushGames.com and YouTube.com/BossRushGames. We're going to continue our trek through Super Metroid and hopefully move on to a new game after the next episode, because we're almost at the end. It's almost the end. So you can download Nintendo Power Block podcast on your podcast service of choice on Saturdays and on YouTube. Watch us live during the week. We will be returning to Twitch streams very soon and Mixer streams. So go to mixer.com/BossRushGamesLive and twitch.tv/BossRushGamesLive to watch us there. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.